All right, what is going on, Emotional Fam? It's Remo coming at you guys, bringing you a brand new podcast. Today on the podcast, I'm interviewing the homie Stax. Stax, why don't you go ahead and quickly introduce yourself to the people who might not know you watching?
My name's Mike Stax Baxter. I'm the Chief Creative Officer of Set to Destroy X. I'm mainly a big media guy within the esports. I started off in Call of Duty, and then I just progressed from there. So I'm basically a videographer and a photographer, anything media wise. So I've been doing it for about like 6 years. So yeah, I'm not stopping right now. So.
Awesome. And I got the SCDX swag on as well. There was a time where I was also SCDX Remo
Big fan.
time ago. Huge fan. So definitely a lot of love for the organization as well. So you say you've been doing this for like a fair amount of time, and you say you started off in Call of Duty. Were you like a player? Or
Yeah, I way back in the day, I'm 24 years old, right?
Right.
So I started like just like everyone else on COD 4, right? Well, anybody that's been around long enough, right? Started out in COD 4 and just played casual with my buddy next door. We just kind of split an Xbox Live account because my mom thought that we were gonna get viruses or something through the internet. So I don't know. It was a big thing, but yeah, no, I used to compete. I'd say my prime was in Modern Warfare 3. That's when I really took it seriously. Yeah, and then it went on to Black Ops 2, where I still competed, but not really competed. I just kind of like a team with my friends, right?
Right.
And then it came to Ghosts, and I was on Purist Gaming, which was a former organization, but I'll get into that. So I competed in there for a little bit, and then I decided, because Ghost was kind of like the killer for a lot of people, right? They were like, you either loved it or you hated it, right? And I just couldn't play it anymore. It was just not good.
I was with you. I think that was the first game I ever sold before the next Call of Duty came out. I was like, I ran to GameStop and I was like, what can I get for this? And they're like, I'll give you like $7. I'm like, good, that's all I want.
Yeah, so from there, like I used to compete, and I could still give people the sticks, like don't discredit it all, right? But once you compete once, you're a competitor for life. So.
Oh yeah, for sure. You don't ever lose that drive. No, never. And I mean, the only game that I ever like actually competed in was Call of Duty, but like I played Counter-Strike on the side, and I played Halo way back when I was like a youngin', and I was playing like Halo 3 matchmaking. Did you ever do anything like that or no?
I never really played Halo competitively. No, like Call of Duty has been my game ever since, right? Like I haven't really transitioned to any other competitive titles other than like H1Z1.
Right. And that's not as big as some of the others. I feel like that can get big though, if done right.
It's my baby, dude. Like right now, like I got the drive for that, dude. It's crazy.
It's definitely fun. It's frustrating. I know. Like I threw this. I have like a couple clips saved, and I've been like grinding YouTube out a little bit. But I threw like a clip up of me just getting completely turned on. And there's all of those on Twitter. There's always like people are just like, "Why I didn't even hit him?" Blah blah.
Of course.
But that was me. And I saw the TV broadcast, and what was that, ran by Echo Fox? That whole tournament?
Yeah. We were part of that too.
Yeah, I saw that. But you guys got like no viewership time, right?
That's a whole nother topic.
Yeah, that's we don't even have to go. I was kind of pissed off myself too, because I was watching it with my brother, because I'm always trying to get people into esports as much as I can, and I feel like if I can get like people who are above like 30 years old into it, I'm doing something, and maybe that's a better proof that I can keep getting bigger if we can get the older crowd into it, not just teenagers. But I was like watching, and like SCDX popped up. I'm like, I used to play for that org. Look how big they are now. And my brother's like, but yeah, it was like a little unfortunate, but I mean, there was some like, I don't know. I saw the only clip that I ended up seeing on Twitter is one where all the people were on the roof rolling, and people were like, "This is what esports came to," and I was like, "Come on!" That was the worst. That was
but
the worst
I think that they did that. They took it because they knew it was going to be on primetime TV, right?
Right.
So they took an approach to it, which I think worked really well for the average consumer that would be watching 9 o'clock on a Thursday night or whatever, right? So I think they approached that really well. But for anybody that was like esports and was like a fan of competitive games and have watched events on Twitch and have like experienced live events,
Right.
it was a disaster.
Oh yeah.
Right. No one really wanted to watch it. Right. It was kind of like, ugh, like this was rough. Like, because we know what an actual event looks like.
Right. Wasn't it pre-recorded?
It was pre-recorded, and then they had a month to edit it, and the graphics were like outdated, and like the green screening and stuff. Like, I think my high school production could have done a little bit better than that. But yeah, but I mean, it was cool. It was cool. We got to experience a game on TV on the CW, which is a huge network in the US. Like, you guys, we don't really have that here in Canada, right? Like we have big networks, but the CW isn't really a thing in Canada, right? So we had to watch it from the States, but it's a huge network in the States. Like, they host like the Flash and stuff like that. Is that
pretty
what
sure
they do?
The only unfortunate part about my room is I don't have cable in it. Like, I have this giant TV with no cable.
Nice.
So I'm like running through like I'm just running to the other channels in my house, or other TVs in my house, to watch it at the time. I like threw it on for my parents real quick. I'm like, turn on channel 3, because I know the channel, but I don't get to watch it. But yeah, I mean, it was a major channel. It's I think it was like under, like, for, what was it, 2 or 3, like channel 2 or 3 maybe for some people. I don't know. I think it was like 2 or 3 for us. So it was like one of the first channels you look at. But yeah, I mean, besides that, there was just E-League for CS:GO, and I know that E-League was doing, what fighting game was it? It was
Street Fighter.
Street Fighter. Was that televised?
I think it was, but it was pushed on ESPN, which is what it was. That was the big thing that it was on. It was ESPN.
So,
and then they broadcasted Evo too. Like this past Evo, I think it was on Disney XD. Which is nuts.
Yeah, right? And I think I've seen, I want to say during X Games they threw Halo or Call of Duty or something up on like some kind of whatever was covering X Games at the time, and that like esports got a little TV play. But we're still very new to it, which excites me a lot. A lot of people
we're the babies in this.
I know. Like, it's so exciting because I feel like I'm 20 and you're 24 and you're like, I'm just getting started, which is like, I love hearing that, because it's like a lot of people are looking at it like, oh, they've been in it for so long, but I mean, it's just starting. And I sit here and I with confidence can tell you that esports is going to be a top 3 sport in the US, at least within a couple of years. I think it passes 100%. I think it's top with NFL, NBA, and then esports. I think it'll pass baseball, and I think just specifically because of the storylines that come with esports, like when we've been watching the Clayster thing with Call of Duty, with like he got dropped from his team, and I mean, just like that kind of storyline, and just watching his Twitter rants and stuff, that just pulls viewership. And I feel like basketball has storylines with like LeBron James and Steph Curry and Kevin Durant and everyone like that. So like everyone's like tuning in because they want to see the storyline, who wins. And then football has storylines with like Tom Brady and like deflating footballs and stuff like that. And you always have like these superstars that have like emotional storylines to it. And I feel like those is what's going to keep sports alive now with the day and age of social media. So esports has a ton of those. I mean, just every platform has something. Whether it's like,
I like it. I explain it to like anybody who ever combats it, right? Like I sit there and I say, like, they say, they throw on the TV and they see this and they're like, well, gaming's not a sport,
right?
You know, right? And I have that constant battle of against everyone, right? Like, my dad's a big example. He does believe in this stuff, right? But, he will sit there and watch the Blue Jays, right, for like a 4-hour game, right? But then I'll sit there and watch an event for like 8 hours, and like people kind of look down on that. Like, you're sitting there watching someone like play video games. Like, why would you do that and play it? Like, you sit there and watch people play baseball all day, right? So it's a lot different, but I think people understand it now that technology is going this way.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So it's a lot easier to adapt to.
Yeah, I like I said, I see it being definitely a big view thing. I'm pretty sure in South Korea, if I'm not mistaken, that League of Legends is the national sport of South Korea. And something else I touched on, and like I'll be honest, I'm not the most educated in sports. I'm not sure, like, I know that they make like millions, and I'm not sure like salaries and like what kind of bonuses they get from winning. But something I've always noticed from esports is when you're watching these players that are competing for $100,000, $200,000, their salaries aren't that big right now. So you just know like how much they're investing in this right now. And I'm hoping that that stays the same way, because I know with like Counter-Strike, players are on way bigger salaries, and I'm sure they're still gunning for like that extra money, but I just never want to see players ever get content with their salaries and not really care about prize pools. I know that a lot of the money is in like content creation and YouTube and Twitch and stuff like that, versus like one tournament every 3 months that you win like 10 grand for your organization, which is like, you know, 2,500 players split between the organization. It comes down to like $10 after taxes and shit. So I can see where, you know, that could be skewed, but I definitely can see
with the Overwatch League, that's gonna turn some heads. Like, that's gonna be crazy. Like,
I
you
love
see
Overwatch.
that? Have you read up on that at all?
I briefly saw it. I saw the only thing I really saw about it was MLB getting pissed off that their logo was kind of similar.
Oh God, of course.
Yeah, and I mean, when I look at it at the you know, heart of it, I feel like the MLG logo, the red and the blue, and then the controller is way more similar than the Overwatch one, because the Overwatch one's like yellow, black, and an Overwatch character, but I mean, they're all like somewhat the same. But I saw something on like, I think it was even Twitter news where I saw it, and they like, MLB's like, you guys are stealing our logo. I'm like, dude, like, we don't even matter right now. Relax.
Do the same thing with NBA and MLB and even the NHL a little bit, except they don't have the colors. But
yeah,
like, it's all the same thing. Where it's just trying to be comparative to the professionalism, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So,
and logos are dramatically important. I'm starting to learn that now, just as a player.
Important.
I mean, I want to start, like, I'm branding myself. I'm doing what I can right now with the podcast and YouTube and Twitch and stuff like that. And eventually, like, I have goals and aspirations to make this something. And I know that I'm gonna have to get a personal logo eventually for, you know, apparel uses and stuff like that. And I'll talk to like a graphic designer and I'll be like, how much for a logo? And they're like $50, and I'm like, that's what I make in like 8 hours, man. But I'm starting to realize how really important that is. As something cool. But that gets into, I guess, something we can easily transition into is like media, which is what you're specializing in. So I see that you're doing like all kinds of stuff with destroyers, and I see that you're doing all kinds of stuff. I mean, like, you just take pictures at events and stuff like that. But like I said, we're gonna go back a little bit. So when was the first time that you decided to make the transition from a player to a photographer?
Jeez, that UGC Niagara. UGC Niagara in AW. When was that? 2013, 14? 2014, I think, the season.
I think so, because they didn't have one in Black Ops 3, right? They didn't have a Niagara. No. And I was pissed, by the way. I had my passport bought. I had like a trip with my girlfriend for like, it was like my birthday. I was turning 19. I was going to be able to gamble and drink up in Canada. Yeah, I was so excited they canceled it, and I like lost my mind. I was like, I wanted to break up with my girlfriend too. I was like, this is all your fault somehow. No, so probably 2014, I want to say. If you're not wrong, but AW, which is how I base my years now, is based off of Call of Duty.
I know, right? I know. So that was the first event, because I was still with Purist at the time, right? And I was one of the owners with Jared Visions. So we had a team. We had it was Holler, Mizuno, Demented, and Kana. And they did pretty good. They placed top 8.
Okay.
Right. And that was kind of like our first wave into having a really good team, you know? So I've always like I've had my camera, and like I've always been passionate about like filmmaking and photography and stuff like that. And then I brought that camera, and I was like, well, we just need some photos of the team so we can put it up on our website. Right. And then I was like, oh shit. I look around the room, and there's no other photographers here. I'm like, wait, like, hello? Like, what? Why? Why is there no photographers here, right?
Right.
And then I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, dude, like I can do this like almost full time, you know, if I market myself correctly.
Oh yeah.
Um, I could do that, right? Um, and it just progressed from there, really. Um, I kind of I quit Purist because I wanted to focus more on media side of
Mm-hmm.
things, right? Because I graduated from Fanshawe College for television broadcasting,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I know that anything that I do is gonna be within like the video and audio side of things, right? So I said, why don't I take those two passions that I have,
Mm-hmm.
right? Slam them together, you know, and that's me. Because that's me. That is at the end of the day, that's what I love to do,
Right.
and that's what I want to do, right? And that's my career path. So, um, I did that, and then I joined Isolation Esports, right?
Mm-hmm.
I joined ISO, um, and I did a full documentary when they went to Dallas for their AW team.
I was
And
there.
yeah,
Hey.
exactly. Yeah,
I got
and
shit on by Mox and I was a pro player.
Mox. Oh man, when he was a Randy
I
too
teamed
back
with him.
then.
I teamed with that motherfucker, dude.
Ooh.
I teamed with him right before Dallas, but I think I got offered up when I got back on SCDX the second time. I was teaming with Mox and like one of his like duos at the time, who was I don't even think he plays anymore. And I started running with Mox, and he came to me at the end of the night. He's like, "Hey, I think you're pretty good. Let's keep running." And I was like, no fucking way. Like, I didn't have a team, and I was playing with him, and then I think I got hit up by Valen, who used to be on SCDX, and he's like,
Okay, yeah.
we have a COD team. We want to go to MES, which was before Dallas of AW. So I kind of left Mox, and I shouldn't have done it. That was like my biggest
Nope.
mistake, because I run into
Yeah.
him in open bracket second round, and he just sends me straight to losers, man. And then he went on to beat like Diabolic and Sender.
And-
Yeah, like I was like, what is happening?
Yeah, dude.
But I keep going. So your ISO, your AW.
Yeah. So then I did that. I made a full documentary of it. Was about 10 minutes. I think it was about 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my first big like wake up call. You know, that was like, oh shit, this turned out really good.
Right.
And I got I posted it on Reddit too, on the COD competitive Reddit, and I got some really good reviews. And I was like, wow, like I knew that I could do a good job, but this was the first like realization of like this is actually a good job.
You got
right?
confirmation from other people too.
Yeah,
Because
of
I'm like,
course.
I'm the best streamer in the world, and then I stream to
Oh,
like two
God.
people, and I'm like, maybe I'm not. But like when you get that, like when you get like 20, 30 people in your stream, you're like, maybe I can do this. So that's like that's something I feel like everyone needs, is that confidence boost. So I know exactly where you're coming from.
Yep. And from there I was just kind of like just ISO wasn't mixing for what I wanted to do, and I don't want to get into the details of it, but
No, of course,
it just
of
wasn't
course.
what I wanted to do,
Mhm.
right? And then so I was just chilling for like 6 months, you know. I had no organizational ties or nothing, anything like that. And then Charlie hit me up and he said, Mike, I'm gonna be in London for this event. Can you come take pictures and videos for me? I was like,
Mhm.
yeah, sure. Right, I'm right here. Charlie just lives like an hour away from me, right? So he came
Mhm.
down to London for this event, and I took photos and videos, and then it just progressed from there. And I'm sure we'll get into the
All right,
story of
we
it.
will, we
Yeah.
will. I'm so excited for it.
Yeah.
But you said you graduated from, you have a degree, and you explained that. But so I'm sure you took like photo classes, or did you take any kind of photo classes or video editing classes?
Actually, all of my photography is all self-taught,
That's
and
amazing. That's
I'm
amazing.
very proud to say that
Oh
I
yeah.
have. I actually learned the majority of my photography through YouTube,
I
and
I think that's so important. I think that's so important. People are always like, anyone I talk to is like, oh, that person has like schooling, like I'll never get a job over them. But when it comes down to like media, it's like quality over what you have in your on your resume. Like if you're posting a really nice picture versus someone who has like a really nice degree and a crappier photo, you're gonna get that job. And it's just when like I've talked to so many people. I'm not going to college as of now because this is
right.
my focus, but I always thought like everyone I ever talked to who went to any kind of school or technical school, they're like, I only learned like one or two things in school. Everything else I learned on the job. And I was like, that's frustrating.
Yeah.
But that's how it is. So I respect that really hardcore. So self-taught photographer. And I also want to touch really quick. Do you think that since you were a player at one or another point, that you have an advantage over photographers that weren't a player because you know what shots you would want taken of you? Like, does that make sense?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. Like having that tie in, and I have a really, really strong relationship with a lot of the players too, right? Because I've always been like my personality and stuff, like it's always been meet as many people as possible, poke jokes as many as many people as possible, so then you build that relationship, right? And like I'd say I know, like Call of Duty is probably where I'm most cemented in, right? I go to an event and like everybody knows who I am. I know who they are, right? And so just the timing is probably the most important key, like knowing when to shoot, when to not, and just like getting sorry, mom walked by and smiled. So just knowing when you need to get the shot, like when it comes down to, it's 5-5 bomb plant, you know, like you got to get there, right? Just the moments like that, you have to stay on top of it, and you have to know the game that you're shooting too, right? Like you have to like I'll be honest, when I went into a fighting game scenario, not a clue, right? I'm like, oh, he's up. I know now, but he's up like lives and stuff like that. Oh, you won? Oh no, we just took a life, you know. So I was like, oh, all right, well, we'll keep it rolling. But yeah, no, timing is pretty important for that.
I always thought like if I were to ever. I mean, I'm not no photographer. I have an iPhone, and that's filters on Instagram are my life. But...
Hey, dude, iPhones nowadays, like
crazy.
They're crazy, man. Like I think I've got the 7 Plus, right? iPhone 7 Plus,
right?
And it's got two. I don't know if you can see that. It's got two lenses in there,
which is crazy.
It's crazy, right? Like, I remember when I was in high school, I had a flip phone.
Yeah,
right?
Same. Yeah. I was like, yo, dude, I'm typing like all the text messages took like an hour, and I'd be like, hey, what's up?
I was a god at that though.
I was like under the desk, not looking, just like in class. But I'm a huge like, as of recently, like I've always had. I'll be honest, like I'm an excuse person for a while of like my life. I've tried to do podcasts before. I did one for Panda and it went all right, and then I couldn't get a second.
I watched some of them.
I arranged the first one for Panda. It went pretty good. The only thing that frustrated me about Panda is they didn't let me stream it, and if you remembered, the frames that we dropped were absolutely ridiculous. So I was like, all right, that's frustrating that they didn't let me stream it, even though this was like my whole thing and they gave me permission to run it. And then it dropped frames, and that was frustrating. But you know, it pulled like 30 to 50 concurrent viewers, which was great. And we did a giveaway, and it was successful. And then I went to go get my second lineup for the next week going, and I think 2 people dipped like 2 days before, and then I got 2 new people, and then the third person ended up dipping the night before, and then I just like had to cancel it for that week. And then I was sick of relying on other people, and I gave up, and I made an excuse. I blamed it on everyone else, and instead I should have done what I'm doing now, which is arrange my own on my own channel. I record it now because I can record this whenever I want and schedule upload it, so I can do 52 of these in a week and just grind 52 hours and have a year's worth of podcasts. But and then I tried doing my own solo one on my YouTube. I did one. It got like 150 views, which was amazing for me, and then I stopped doing them. So I'm always really big now because I'm really gunning towards all of this on not making excuses. And the biggest thing I ever see from photographers or for vloggers or anything like that, it's like, well, I don't have a really fancy camera. I'm like, it doesn't matter this early. Like, quality is something that you put on a pedestal, and that's what your bar is, what you have to expect. But for other people, they might be happy looking at that, you know, 720p stream or whatever you're doing, or like vlog that you did on an iPhone, because you're doing something interesting and you're getting quality out. And if you're not pushing quality and you're not networking it and you're not just grinding it until you have the money to do it, and you're waiting on that fancy camera you don't even know how to use yet, like I hate when people do like, well, I don't have a camera, I can't shoot photography. Like, dude, get an iPhone together, shoot like 10 pro pictures, tweet them out, get like 200 retweets, realize that you can, maybe do this, and then invest in your camera. Like, I hate people who use excuses.
I'll have you know that I am rocking a Canon T3i.
I don't know what that means.
And
help me.
if any photographers or anybody here know that camera, it is 7 years old. 7 years old.
My God.
And
it's about as old as me.
It's like getting there, right?
Yeah.
But I'm still shooting the exact same stuff, and it's still getting the same quality. You can probably find one of those on Craigslist or anything like that, like $200.
Right. That's not even that bad for
no,
a camera.
Not at all. Not at all. Like, of course, I want to save up to get the new thing, but like that does the job. That's what I'm doing right now, right?
Right, absolutely.
And I stick with what you know. That's all it is.
No, I agree completely. And then, so yeah, just off of that, like, just like that's what I'm doing right now. I'm vlogging when I can. With my iPhone for my vlogs. I'm trying to do like a vlog a week and a podcast a week, and I have the money to do streaming and podcasting because that's what I've always done. Like, my rig is mad expensive. I have that $60 HD 1080p webcam. I have the Snowball mic. I finally invested into it to have it nice, but even if I've always been that kind of person who's like, I need nice stuff before I put it out. It needs to be quality. But at the end of the day, even if I put out this podcast and we're getting like 100, 200, 300 viewers, like, it doesn't have to be Optic level podcast or whoever level podcast that.
Of course not.
You just got to
start
somewhere.
Oh, there you go. There it is.
So, yeah, I'm super interested in number one, people who are self-taught, number two, people who don't have to have like that fanciest stuff, because I know number one, I mean, I don't know your salary or what you make off of events or what money is, and we won't discuss that, but I know that it starts off slow. And if you're like, I always use like my stream revenue from this month is the first time I actually saw real revenue. I immediately put it into rebranding my whole Twitch and stuff like that. So I know what it's like to like, and if are you doing this for full time? Do you work, or is this your full-time job?
Yeah, I did this for I quit my job in February, right? And then because I had to go to MLG Atlanta and then go to Paris, right? And that was a 3-week trip, and I was like, well, I can't take 3 weeks off work, so I might as well quit. I've just been kind of living off savings and everything right now. But as of next week, I am going back to work. I took like a 6-month hiatus or whatever.
Right.
Just going back to work for part time. Nothing too serious. They needed some help, and I said, well, I'll come and help because
extra money.
Yeah, of course. And then like not really doing anything in between events, right? So I'm just sitting here editing or doing whatever. So I might as well just go and work for a couple hours,
Yeah, absolutely. So when it comes down to it, like, that's the time where you're in between doing stuff right now is just there's no revenue, or not as much revenue as you need, so people can't be like expecting to toss like thousands into their equipment every time something new comes out, unless you're like Nadeshot level, where he's like, I just got 16 new camera lenses, here's the links in my video, and they're all $800 a piece, and you're like,
and then I got 5 pairs of shoes,
right? Yeah. Check out the Yeezys, I'm giving 4 of them away, and I'm like,
yeah, it's like, awesome. Oh, can't relate.
Yeah, like one day, but and then that's amazing to me. I love that, so I respect that grind. And then coming into like afterwards, not even, like, the quality of the pictures is one thing, but isn't like editing's huge and time consuming for that matter, because I know you're taking hundreds and probably thousands of pictures at these events, and then you got to sit down and edit them all. And
it's overwhelming. It's really overwhelming.
It really, like, I remember hassling your ass after Orlando, just not realizing what I was doing in the long run.
Yeah.
I was like,
you and 100 other people, they don't understand. Right?
Yeah,
and like I don't mind. It's just like, you'll get it when you get it.
Yeah. So, but I have a really interesting question. Do you stream your process of editing?
I don't.
You should.
Mainly because I don't like to show my work before it's finished.
Okay. I feel that.
I know a lot of like designers and stuff, like Sage actually. He's been streaming a lot lately now, his design process. But like I kind of like to reserve what my creative thing is until I present it in a fashion that I know it's ready for people to see. You know,
I
if
feel
I
that.
take a shitty picture, I don't want people to see that shitty picture and they're like, "Oh, I'm just gonna edit it and it looks fucking gorgeous." You know,
Right,
like
right,
I don't want to do that, right? So I'd rather have people say, "Oh, that looks amazing," you know.
right.
So it's
Have you
kind of
ever
conservative.
have you ever considered like because I'm always like finally in a process of my mind where I just like I see something and I see where I can put it on, not just like I take my Twitch, I rip Twitch streams, I throw them on YouTube. That's two sets of content. I really only had to work for one of those, and then I'll take a stream clip and I'll throw it on Twitter, and then Twitter leads back to my stream. It all connects. Have you ever thought about recording a session of you editing pictures, speeding it up, and throwing that part on YouTube? Would that interest you to have like another YouTube video that throws up of like a quick like 2 minute from a 30-minute session? Have you ever thought about that?
It's not something that I've watched speed arts and stuff in the past,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought it was cool the process behind it. Now that you're saying it, I might do something like that. But to be honest, I don't know. I like my editing process
Yeah, I
and
mean that's
how I
100% fair.
right. So and I get sidetracked so easily.
Oh yeah.
Holy
I've
God.
watched Sage on stream and I love him, but like sometimes he'll be like song request in the chat, and I'll click the chat and I'll pull it up like, oh, I'm having issues right now, and I'll be sitting there like, I just want to see you design stuff.
Yep.
But
I
no, I
know.
can see that for sure.
I usually edit like probably about like 50 pictures in a batch, and then I go play H1 for like an hour, and then I come back and then I do this.
Yeah,
and
you
then,
have to.
And then I check Reddit and stuff, so.
And that's got to be, I'm not going to say, like, lonely sounds like the worst word, but it can be just like you sit down, you throw some music on, and you just grind pictures for half an hour or an hour without talking to anybody. It's kind of like when I'm streaming, I have people in my stream where I'm playing with people. I'm always like I've never sat down and really streamed the game alone because I get so, like, just like unmotivated to some. So does that affect you at all, or do you have to have music? Do you have to be talking to people, or?
Actually, I'm always in Discord with Jared and Charlie, and they always crack jokes and everything like that. So
it's Charles.
It's always of course, it's always a good time. So I don't really see like. I just like hearing banter in the background, right? They'll say something, I'll rip on them, and then whatever. And I say, "Mike, you doing work?" "Yeah, shut up." Yeah. So yeah, like what I will say, when I'm editing Destroyers, I can't have any distractions or anything. I almost pulled the plug on my internet, because I was like, I need to get this done. I need to focus in on this, right? So but yeah, no, it's cool.
I definitely like, because I watch Destroyers when I can, and like just for like a small background on myself, I work anywhere from 50 hours a week to more between two jobs. Right now I'm on like my 17th straight day of work, with like 6 of those shifts being doubles of 13-hour days. I stream every single night that I don't work. I'm now uploading 2 YouTube videos a day, 5 days a week, a vlog on Sunday and a podcast on Saturday. I'm up right now,
my friend.
Yeah, I'm up right now. It's like 11:15. This podcast will probably end at like 11:45, or a little before, a little later. I have to be up at 5 a.m. tomorrow to go to work. So, it's exhausting to say the least.
You just got home.
Yeah, and I just got home from a 13-hour day to do this. So I kind of understand that whole thing. But editing. I almost lost where I was talking. Editing Destroyers. Anyways, I was gonna get into editing Destroyers. I was gonna say the same thing about doing the thing for your well, I can't think of the word. Your speed art and doing Destroyers. If you recorded yourself editing Destroyers, because I've seen you post pictures on Twitter of like the little tiny clips, and like I'm like, what is happening there? So if, like a speed art of that would be cool. Or I don't know if you know the YouTube channel Cow Chop.
I don't think so. No.
They're like a bunch of just goofy guys. They live in a house. They just do dumb stuff all day, and they'll record like a video like, oh, here's us going to New York and causing havoc in New York, and then they'll like do that video. But then they'll do like a couple days. A couple of days later, they'll do like behind the video, and they'll do like behind the scenes. That might be a cool idea to do behind Destroyers, like all the retakes you have to do, or like funny moments that happen. So That's something. I think where I was going with that, working a whole bunch, is where I wanted to end up. Is I try as hard as I can to stay current on like people's YouTube videos and people's streams and stuff, but sometimes there's just not enough hours in the day on top of like my work that I'm putting in. So I've watched Destroyers before, and I try to keep up to date with all the organizations I've been a part of, like Panda and STDX and my own organization for that matter. But it gets busy. So
it's hairy. Yeah, I
really
know.
Does. So that's like.
I appreciate you watching them, dude.
Yeah, of
like
course.
it's a lot of work. Yeah.
So in my mind, like I said, I'm always looking at different ways I can do more than just one thing with one thing, more than one thing with my stream to throw it to YouTube. So if you did like a speed art of Destroyers, or you did like behind the scenes of Destroyers, I think that'd be fucking cool as hell.
Cool.
So
I will definitely keep that in mind.
I'm tossing ideas, and I love doing that. And take them or leave them. I'm not gonna cry over it. I'm not gonna block you on Twitter. Maybe I'll send you some hate mail after I'm like, where's my photos? But I'm super excited to see that like Charles got into that, because besides, I mean, like, I think it's inevitable that every organization, either now or in the future, is going to need that person who follows the organization around and does some kind of update, because esports isn't just football or baseball. It's like, it's this title, that title, this title, blah blah blah. Here's what's going on here. Here's what's new. Here's what's old. And I mean, how many events do you cover? Do you just do Call of Duty? Do you just do?
I do any major event.
Okay.
So I've gone to the first time I've ever stepped out of Call of Duty was HCS Vegas, the qualifiers for Worlds, I guess. And that was Halo, right? And I go in there, I'm like, I have no idea who any of these people are, right? Because I've been Call of Duty till I die, right?
Right.
And so, and then I get there, and then I realize that they're the exact same as me, except it's just a different game, right? We're all pretty much the same age. We all love playing video games. It's all the same, right? You build relationships everywhere, but I will say that the fighting game community, they are. The first person shooter kids, they're all the same. Fighting game community, it's a little bit out there. I will say that. Yeah, they're a little they're cut from a different type of cloth. But no, at the end of the day, we're all gamers, and we all love each other's company. So yeah.
I think I'll sit here and I'll watch, Call of Duty, and I'll watch Counter-Strike, and I'm pretty up to date on both of those, to the point where I can name rosters and players and whatnot. But I mean, there's just so much. Like, when you're looking into like League of Legends, or like Dota right now is like a $22 million tournament, which is crazy.
Ridiculous, man.
It's like, I want to see those titles succeed. I just can't imagine what it's going to be like for the average viewer to look at League of Legends and be like, what's happening? Because, like, FPS is really easy to follow, and fighting games are really easy to follow. And then, like, you have, like, Overwatch, which is getting a little bit like, I can kind of figure out what's going on. And then you have League of Legends, where it's just, like, you hear people that are just like...
Oh, yeah. Well, I know League of Legends, during, like, Worlds and stuff, they have a separate stream for beginners. Like, they have
that's smart
broadcasters that like explain them to the average viewer what's going on, which is super smart. I think everybody should adapt to that, because that's the only way it's going to get big for like any. I'm sounding like Charlie, like any like big time investors or anything like that, or any big ballers that want to get into esports, but they have no idea what it's about, right?
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I think that's a good thing that everybody should adapt to at some point. Right.
And that's how, I mean, just watching Counter-Strike on E-League was, because I used to watch with my girlfriend, and we'd sit down and she'd be like, I don't know what's happening, but I support your dreams. And I'd be like, this is what's happening, this is what's happening, this is what's happening. And I'd explain it as hard as I could. And like, when you sit down and try to actually explain it to someone who has no idea, it's pretty difficult to explain an esport. But the casters did it really quickly and easily in between like maps on Counter-Strike. They're like, there's 2 bomb sites, you switch sides either way, you got 1 life, and you go. And I'm like, I could have told you that, but like, what about the economy? Tell me about that. So there's I'm sure they're forcing. Oh my God. I'm like, what do you mean you got 1 dig? What's a dig? So I think that, like I said, if they do stuff like that for League of Legends, I think it can get like the older community into it. And I work, one of my jobs is a golf course. I'm the youngest by like 20, 25 years, because most people are like older or retired on that course working. But I'm doing it because it's like easy morning work. I'm off at noon on the days I don't do doubles, so it's like perfect schedule wise. But I talked to one guy or a couple guys that are like in their 40s, and I'm like, check out this stream, and they're like interested enough that they might watch it when they got home, and I'm like, all right, we got a shot at getting like bigger crowds. But I know that like League of Legends is huge because it has a huge gamer base. Like a lot of people play it, so a lot of people watch it, and it's all competitive. Like there's no just like pubs just to chill out with.
Well, that's something that League did smartly, right? They built their game around competitive,
and it's free to play too.
It's free to play too. And same with Counter-Strike. The game itself is competitive. There's like deathmatch and stuff, but the core mechanic of the game is competitive, right? And that's a big step where Call of Duty is people just throw in TDM and you're good. Right. We as a community, you included, like we as a community, we had to build the competitive scene
absolutely
ourselves, right? And to see where it's gone now, it's blown up, dude. Like $1.5 million tournament is next weekend, right? So Worlds. And like I come from a time where the 5K like 5K tournaments on what was that thing called? Icons, 360 Icons.
Yeah,
were huge back then. You know, if there was a 5K tournament, it was like, oh god, everybody's playing, right? But now it's just blown up. It's just it hits home. You know? It's like we did something good.
I talked to, I don't know, you may have heard his name. He stays extremely low key. I respect the hell out of him for it because he doesn't want any publicity for it. His name's Shoddy. He coached the Panda team last year, the Black Ops 3 team to get to champs. He went to the house every now and again, and he just put in a little work. He went to like Modern Warfare 3 Worlds, and you know, he competed way back when like Modern Warfare 2 and stuff, when it wasn't even that big, and he never just like kept with it. I think he like quit for a while, but he's extremely knowledgeable, extremely talented, and he helps me with like everything. I plan on moving in with the guy coming up because like I met him through gaming, and he's like, we just hung out so many times, and I've lived there for like a month at a time, whatever. But he was telling me all the time about how when he was sponsored back in the day, and like game battles was like the first thing, like losing a game battles match was like you had to like approach your organization and tell them like, this is why we lost, like we're so sorry, like this happened, and like it's just like to see how crazy people went over a free game battles match with their sponsors on there, to like the t-shirts that they had that were like printed at their local t-shirt shop and had like these weird sponsors, and like and now I'm wearing like even my SCDX jersey that I'm wearing right now. It's the white top with the blue bottom. It looks like a big maple leafs on it, to be fair.
Of course.
And just to like see where your jersey's like, just to see like that development even in the apparel is crazy. And I just love listening to Shoddy's old stories because he's always like, back in my day, we barely even had game battles. Like we had 360 icons and stuff like that.
Exactly.
And now it's just to the point where like people are like, I can't even try for $1, and I'm like, I'm trying in pubs like it's my last day of Call of Duty.
I know. I remember when they implemented what's it called, like ranked gameplay in AW. I felt every single pub match I had to be sweating to like win. I was like, oh my god, like that's why we would always get our the girl in our org, Lynx. We were like, all right, Lynx, you host, and then we're gonna shit on everybody because it's skill-based matchmaking, right?
Oh yeah, I desperately like, I'm hoping World War II rank play is gonna be back to Black Ops 2 League play. If it's not, I'm just hoping that pubs aren't going to be as they were in the past 3 games, because I remember when I started in competitive was Black Ops 2. I was like a competitive trick shotter. I was FS, whatever my name was, and I was like, I was crazy. I would never hit a shot before, so I kind of quit doing that. It didn't last long. But what I ended up getting into with a high school buddy, he's like, dude, come play headquarters. It's super lit. Whatever we were saying back, it wasn't lit. And then we ended up finding, he found this pub stomping clan, Saw X, and he joined them, and I just like grinded to be good enough in pubs. And it was just to a point where we would run into other clans that we knew, and we would just like go as hard as we could in a pub. And I don't even think that's a thing anymore.
Clan battle, clan versus clan.
But Ghost did it really well when they did that app. that was awesome, but I don't think Ghost was the right game for it. If that was in Black Ops 2, I would have quit competitive. I would have held the entire United States or whatever the map was for that.
Oh, dude.
But it's just like, I hope that entertainment value of public matches back, because there'll be times where I'll be streaming like any like Black Ops 3 or whatever, and people will be like, play pubs so we have something to look at between your matches, and I'm like, nope. Nope, not happening. You can listen to this music and you don't get to song requests because I'm a miserable streamer, but I just can't I can't sit through pubs, man. I can't do it. It's so unfun. It's pay to fucking win. You're paying like hundreds into supply drops. You're watching YouTubers open these supply drops that all your views paid for their supply drops. Like, I hate that.
Do you want to know something funny?
Of course.
I have probably 4 hours total on Infinite Warfare.
I don't blame you.
4 hours total. And I have been Call of Duty through and through.
Mm-hmm.
That game killed it for me, man.
I don't blame you.
But I've been to every single major event.
Mm-hmm.
You know, watching it is fun. I just can't sit there and play it.
I agree.
You know,
I agree.
It's a headache.
I think that the only remaining people that play are, number one, people who are going to champs right now, or number two, people that have only played jetpack games, because you know what it's like in a boots on the ground, a little bit more of a skill gap kind of game, and you know what it's like to just rotate on time, hold your head glitch, pre-aim a corner, and you know you're gonna win, and then someone comes flying and one comes sliding and one's like wall running 360ing with a robot you can't hit, and you're just like, it was to the point where at the start of the...
What the fuck am I playing?
Right. It was at the start of the year, I was so into it. I was like 12-hour days. We were doing really well online. We were making like 4 or 5 rounds in the 2Ks and stuff. Like, it was just enough that like it kept us playing because we were doing the best we've ever done. And then once we like miss an event because of like whatever reasons, we knew that we couldn't go to champs, it was like we just stopped playing because we didn't even want to. And we were throwing like we play Ghost now, which is like a 4-year-old game, but it's the nearest boots on the ground game.
Everybody's been playing
blown
that,
up. We're like in leagues, and like I'm screaming at people to do this and that, and they're like, it's a free GB ladder Ghosts, and I'm like, I don't want to lose. So I can't wait for the boots on the ground to come back to that. I think
that'd be awesome.
I think it's gonna not rebirth Call of Duty, because I don't think it's as dead as people say, but I think it's gonna bring more viewership on Twitch. It'll be better if we don't have 2 games going on of Modern Warfare Remastered and IW, because even Modern Warfare Remastered right now is kind of miserable. It's just S&D, and it's you die super quick, and if you don't know the game like anybody else, you don't win.
It's the same game I played 8 years ago. Right. You know, like it's
So
I mean, it was cool for the first 2 months, and then it was just like, well, I've already played this I played that game for 3 years, you know, like before the remastered came out. So it's like, I don't know. I don't want to do it all again.
I feel like it was just a double loss. Like at the beginning of the game, everyone's like, oh, IW sucks so bad, we should compete in Modern Warfare Remastered. And then by like halfway through IW, they're like, well, these both kind of suck. Let's just play Ghosts or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited for World War II. I'm doing like, for the beta alone, I'm doing a 24-hour live stream because I'm just like so pumped. And you know, everyone's hyping it up, and everyone's the best players. Everyone's going to champs, so we'll see a lot of players at champs this year that we've never seen before. I can't wait. But I think that'll be really good for Call of Duty to get back to being a better, more viewed esport on Twitch.
Back to the game that I know.
Right, back to everyone playing and nothing getting done in organizations because they're like, "Where's my video photographer guy?" And you're like, "He's one shot."
Yeah, exactly.
I can't wait for that.
Guilty.
So I have a couple more questions. We're actually 48 minutes into the podcast. We don't have much left, but I kind of want to, there's like a general little bit of questions. So I know you're kind of doing this full time, but like, do you see this being career for you in the future? Like, in the next like 5 years, do you see this being your full time? I'm pulling in enough revenue to support myself, never have to like work. At, like,
I see myself doing that in the next year.
In the next year,
like that. Yeah. I don't even like 5 years. Like it's gonna think about the growth within these last 3 years alone.
Oh yeah, I see it.
Think about and like all just the major players coming in, like Splice getting bought by the Boston Bruins and stuff like that, right? There is absolutely no reason why I can't be doing this full time in a year to come, right? and have a decent enough salary to support myself and do everything like that, you know. It's yeah, I 100% see myself doing this within the year, right? So it's inevitable. It's going to happen, you know.
I respect that confidence, because that's something that I finally had to instill in my head. Like as I have, when I said 5 years, because right now I have a year where I'm setting aside, you know, I'm moving out of my place to focus more. I'm gunning the whole YouTube, Twitch thing on top of competing, and I really want to see. My dog is going off in the background. This is why I need to move out of this house. Anyways, but I just want to see where it goes in a year and just make sure I'm having the right growth to do it. But I just see myself as like a streamer or YouTuber taking a little bit more time to get there. But I know that you're under. I mean, SCDX is making moves. I want to get Charles on a podcast really badly. Not to even talk about Intel, but I didn't see it when I was under STDX because I was just a player. But the little moves that he was making that I just didn't get, and I would sit there with people after we left, and we're like, dude, STDX isn't going anywhere. STDX is like, why'd they pick up a Street Fighter player and stuff like that? I get it now. I see it. I see why. And I'm like, I should have.
We're in 12 major titles right now.
That's
none of them are Call of Duty.
And no one's doing that. No one. I mean, there's some people who are like, you know, there's some players on those other things that are being picked up, but like I've never seen another organization at like SCDX's level, or like even my organization's like much smaller level, that are like investing in a Street Fighter player, or I mean, you guys have like H1Z1 team, and you have like all these like different, you know, not so known yet, and you're just like investing in stuff and just gambling it, and it's such good publicity, and it's so smart on Charles's part, and that's why I want to get him on here so I can just suck his dick on this podcast and just like fanboy as hard as I can, because it's such a good, like, he's a businessman, and I see it now. And the best conversations with Charlie come in a hotel room drunk at 3 a.m. Sunday night at an event, and he just releases all his secrets because, you know, he's hammering whatever. But I'll have to have him see this one and be like, yeah, I want to be on it, because I don't want him. I don't want to waste his time on him to see it's something. So, and I'm also gonna have Sage from your org be on here,
Kyle,
because I've never seen somebody. I think he also said he's full-time designing, no job right now, or he like quit it to do this. And you know, I watch his streams, and he posts 15-20 viewers as soon as he turns it on, just from streaming, and he's getting donations, and he's doing his thing, and I'm sure he's making the money off of his client work and stuff like that. That is one more thing I wanted to touch on. Now that I come to think about it, even though we're late in the podcast and we're past it, what's your opinion on working for free when you're first breaking into the scene, taking pictures of organizations that you don't even talk to because you want to get exposed, or editing pictures and putting countless hours into working for free just to get exposure? I want your opinion on that.
So it's different for me, but I will say I'll give it two perspectives. Okay. So if you are someone that's just starting out, go to any local stuff first. Right? Go to local stuff, and then take all your photos, okay, and present them to people. Say like, hey, this is my album, and then this is what I used to do. Take all the individual photos and then post them on Twitter, and then tag that person in that and say, hey man, I just got this really cool photo of you, thought you would love it. Gamers go nuts for that, man. Right. They're like, oh, new Abby, yeah.
Yeah, they're like, hey, I got a fan taking pictures, Mom.
Right, I know. And then they show it to their mom and dad. They're like, what the hell is this? Right? Like... That's a nice picture, right? So I think that's the smartest idea you could ever do, right? But your first event should always be free. Second event, you charge, right? Because I think at Dallas AW, when I was with ISO still, I still was heavy into taking photos for everyone, and then people would buy them from me, right? I would always just say like $3 a photo, you know, because I know people are gamers, and we don't have a lot of money, right? But but and then some people like charge like any professional photographer charges probably like $25 a photo.
Which
And like
is
I'm just like, fuck it, $3, man. Just send
yes.
her my PayPal. You
Yeah.
know, fuel my G Fuel fund. You know, like, but then you gain that relationship too. Like you're like, oh, this guy he does really good work and it's a really decent price, right? And then once you get up to it, like, I just shot a whole team at DreamHack, right? Did all their promos and everything like that, and I charged $100,
Right.
you know, and that's still good. That pays for a lot of my stuff for the weekend, right? Where I was already going there to like shoot for destroyers and take photos and everything. Like there's no reason why I couldn't do this on the side.
Oh yeah.
You know?
I when you had my pictures at Orlando, I remember I was thrown in a group chat with I don't even know how many other players and teams, but you're just like, you know, let me know what station you're going towards, and you were SCDX Stax, you were under the organization, but you were still doing your own personal work, and Charles was with you, like pushing you to do that and just like take those extra pictures. And I can only imagine how many pictures you maybe took of teams that didn't pay you just to have those extra pictures and stuff, and it works. And there's some people who I know who are just like, I'm not doing free work, like my time's valuable. And I'm like, really? Because you've done, like, here's your portfolio, it's like 3 headers. And I watched Sage design a rogue header on Twitter. He designed it for 3 hours on his stream, and it was practice work.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, yeah, if you get your name out there to those major orgs and they ask you for a rebrand, you could charge like whatever you want at that point because they know your quality. And just I've never been more upset to see people who don't work for free at least once.
They're privileged, man.
Oh yeah.
Like, now the thing is too, I want to say my perspective on this.
Of course.
If I was to start out right now, I would charge because I have all of that professional background.
Right.
If I'm coming out of college and I already know how to do stuff,
right,
then I would charge. But the people that have never done this before or never even taken photos before, and they're charging this absurd amount of money for it, then it's just like, what are you doing? You know? And like, you don't realize that until I'm sitting here and I'm looking at their photo, right? And I'm like, what? Like, you can't do that. You need to sit down, take back, reevaluate, look at other people's work before you can charge whatever you're charging for your iPhone pictures. You know?
And it's so overpriced. And I mean, like, I hit up Sage to do this overlay. Not only did he do this overlay, which has 2 face cam boxes, but he sent me a face cam box with 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. Told me he'd keep the PSD and told me he'd update it with like sponsors or if any of my social media changed or whatever. And I'll tell like the price what he did it for it was $15. And I can tell you right before I hit up Sage, because I was so impatient on getting this podcast started, because I know that when World War II comes out and I'm competing, it's going to be really hard to record podcasts if I'm gunning towards competitive. So I want to get as many between now and November done, recorded, and schedule uploaded. So I was like, I need to get, I don't know how much work he has. He probably has a ton of work, like blah, blah, blah. So I like hit up another designer, and the designer's like, I'll get you one with this kind of background for $30. And I was like, LOL. I'm like, I'm going to wait on Sage because I know he's not going to charge that much. But I just some designers who, and photographers and videographers and everything like that like overcharge, and they don't even have their foot in the door yet. It's just, and they're like, why isn't it working? Why don't I have clients? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, like, stop thinking you're the best. Get some practice work for bigger organizations and just work for free for a minute. Like, if you're in high school and you don't have, like, you don't need the revenue from it, dude. Grind 3 months of free stuff and see where it takes you. Like, just like macro patience, micro speed. You know what I mean? Just like grind and then wait and see what happens. And so just to see, you know, like I always see photographers post, you know, oh, casters, I got a picture of you, and that one retweet is huge. And the people that I'm lining up on the podcasts, you know, I know that just by marketing a whole bunch of different people, regardless of, you know, who they are, all it takes is for 2 people who don't know me that know you to see this is huge for me, because even though I put an hour's worth of work plus another, you know, whatever I put in before and after, I'm gunning for that 1 to 2 new people that might sub to my channel, and then maybe it'll be 4 the next time. And I never have an ego who I work with, and I always try to, you know, network and stream with a whole bunch of people. I went to an event at Vegas, and I talked to an organization owner, and we walked to Starbucks, and I picked up his coffee, and he offered me to be on his COD team. And I was like, me buying you Starbucks is gonna make you fund me to the next event fully? Like, Jesus Christ, who wants Starbucks?
Yeah, really.
So just like
everyone,
people don't understand like that little bit of free work or putting their time or money into something can really lead to something, which is mind blowing to me. That's what I'm liking about this industry is you can do that. It's almost like I like to think of myself as a salesperson to an extent. Like I'm putting my stream in a bucket and I'm trying to sell my stream to people, or I'm trying to sell my YouTube videos for views. And no matter how much money I put into it, eventually it'll come back in my mind. And that's how I look at it. So right now, all my YouTube clips I'm putting up are not monetized. I'm not trying to make money off of them. I'm just trying to get people to come watch the stream. And then from the stream, they might be like, oh, I like your vlogs, and cross branding all of my things together.
Of course.
Gunning for it. So,
for sure.
And then we'll close out the pocket. We kind of touched on it a little bit, but in 5 years, besides you seeing it to be a top 3 viewed sport, what do you see? Like, do you see any titles dying? Do you see any new titles rising? Do you see more people investing? Do you see because I see a lot of athletes going into it. Do you think there's going to be other things? Where do you see this going?
All right, I'm going to put on my Charles suit and tie on this one. Right.
Channel is Ghost.
Yeah, exactly. It's such a hard thing to talk about, right?
I mean, there's no wrong answers. You could say, I see Bill Gates getting into it.
Because everything you say, it's going to happen, right? The proof is in everything right now. The proof is in the pudding.
Ooh, pudding.
Oh, I love pudding. Right? No, I don't know if any titles per se will die. The only way titles die is if events stop putting in money for it, right? Whenever there's going to be a money for prize pools, there's always going to be a fan base, right?
Of course.
I'll relate it with H1Z1 right now. Like everybody says that the game is dead, because PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds is just blowing it out of the water, right? At the end of the day, there has been 2 events for $400,000,
which is
right
insane.
Total, which is crazy, dude. Like, and it's just getting started, right? What's to say in a year from now? I know a little bit more intel, but I can't really leak it right now.
Oh, come on, tell the 20 people that watch this video.
Yeah, no, but like what's to say that there's going to be like a huge tournament, kind of like a Call of Duty Champs at the end of a season, you know? Like, what's to say that there isn't like an E-League associated with something like that, right? Like it's going to happen eventually, right? As long as there's a viewership and as long as there's money, there's always going to be popularity, right? Now that being said, I don't know if any, like, I think maybe a little bit of the smaller fighting games might fall off. I know Counter-Strike is only going to go up.
Counter-Strike's insane right now. Some of those crowds at the majors.
It's crazy. Yep. League of Legends might take a small dip, but they're always going to stay consistent.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
They have tons of players alone.
Yep. Overwatch is going to blow out of the water. I don't think anybody is going to expect it to do so well. I don't personally love the game, but I can respect it. Right.
I love playing that game, by the way. I'll just throw that out there. It's just like the graphics on it are like goofy and arcadey, how I love, and
of course.
It's just like it's just cool to follow all the characters and stuff like that. And they're doing everything right with like putting in new characters every when it's needed. When everyone feels like, oh, this is kind of vanilla, they'll brand new character, like boom, and you're like, I want to go play. So yeah, I definitely agree. I think Overwatch can do something. I'm not as familiar with the league and the scene as you, but I can agree on that. I can attest.
Well, the Overwatch League, they just announced that players are gonna have $50,000 salary minimum plus tournament winnings, and they get like health benefits from being a player in the Overwatch League.
That's
granted, the Overwatch League is like $5 million to buy into the spot.
My God.
Did you know that?
No.
Yeah, dude, and that's why a lot of these big time investors and everyone are coming into this, because they're like, okay, this costs $5 million to get into the league. There's going to be a huge ROI, because with Blizzard and everything, Blizzard just shits money. And but that's why a lot of these big ballers are coming in to esports right now, because it's a huge investment right now. But like Charlie said, like think about like his 8-year-old daughter right now. Think about when she turns 18, and her dad owns an esports organization. Right. Think about where esports organizations are going to be 10 years from now, when we started this 7 years ago.
Yeah.
Right. And it's huge now.
Yeah.
Right.
It's my, like, I try to tell everybody, and I was gonna go and touch into what you just said, where I think it's gonna end up going. I think if we really not want to be taken seriously, but want to be more invested into heavily by players, is gonna be, you know, health benefits, and almost set up like a company where, you know, you have like a retirement plan, because that's like the biggest thing. Like pro players are like still going to college, and they're still, you know, giving backup plans, and not everyone can be a caster afterwards, but just having like those benefits, I think, in turning like esports into like companies, and from like an organization standpoint to a company standpoint, not like I play for you guys and I switch to this, but like sitting down and being like, all right, here's my benefits, here's a salary. I think once players can fully commit to that, I think that's another huge thing that'll grow it. And like, if it's happening for Overwatch right now, it is right around the corner for every other major esport. And then you'll have organizations that have money that'll start investing into it, and they're just going to start setting up their players and their you know, media staff and their entertainers to be set for a while. And I know some people make absurd amount of money from YouTube, and you can see just like, check out this new car I bought. There's 5 of them in the US, and you're like, yeah, I liked your video, man. You're welcome.
Norton chat.
Right, there we go. That's what I was referencing. Or that's so crazy. So that's where I see that going. And God, I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
Like, well, if you think about it, like the average professional, like I'm saying professional video game player, like they do this full time for a living, is probably going to be around the 23 to 26-year-old mark. Right, because this is what they're doing full time, right? Because a lot of players, like even like Ghost Gaming now, they just bought like a $15 million team house or something like that in LA.
Let me throw up
for
really
Call
quick.
of Duty,
right? And they're not even in the pro league.
No,
they weren't in the last season.
They're getting $4K salary a player.
God damn. It's like
No, I love Devin, like Llama God, but I don't see why they deserve that. You know, like I know they've grinded for so long, and they should this up there, but at the stage it's at right now, there's no need for that.
If they have the money and they want to, to a degree, I feel like that will help grow the scene slightly, because you know, people will see that. But could they have invested that into a better team with more publicity to more people see it? Maybe. I did not know. I saw the team house, which was crazy. I thought that team house was going to be for more than just their COD team, which it very well could be, kind of how Optic did. You know, they have just like tons of players in their houses and moving, but that's a hefty chunk of change for.
Yeah. Well, I like being on the management side. I know a lot of the back ends that go on. Right. We have ins and everything, and we know what's going on. Where the players are just like, oh yeah, like woohoo, like playing Call of Duty. When we see it as a business standpoint now, right? We've gotten to that stage where it's like this is more than just playing games with your friends. Like, this is a full-time career, right?
Yeah. And I want to see parents supported enough that their kids aren't going to be kicked off of video games, because as much as people are going to sit here and say video games are so bad and being on your phone is so bad, it's not going away. It's going to get bigger, and if your kid's talented and you kick him off of it, you might stop the next Jordan of video games. So, of
course. Yep. My like things with like grandmas and stuff. My girlfriend's like grandma, she's probably like, I'd say about 88 years old. 88 years old, and she's grinds Candy Crush like no tomorrow, right?
Oh yeah.
And it's relatable at that point, you know. So it's like you can't say like nobody plays video games, because everybody plays video games, right? Even slots, even if you press slots, it's still like a video game,
right? It's just phone games when you're in an awkward situation standing in line at Starbucks and you don't want people to think you're looking, so you're just like, I'm gonna
Flappy Bird,
right? Just dude, that game was stop it right now. Flappy Bird was, I used to get the high score on everyone in my class because I had just like the hand-eye coordination, and they're like, how are you so good at this? I'm like, 8 hours a day of Call of Duty, 8 hours a day of Call of Duty, and they're like, why don't I ever see you at parties, Flappy Bird? And like, it's definitely, it's everywhere, and if you can just, I could see advertisements for esports going into games like Flappy Bird, and just like, if you like this little game, you'll love H1Z1 King of the Kill, and then you watch like a game like that, and you're like, if you love H1Z1, you'll love League of Legends. If you love League of Legends, you'll love Dota, and it'll just like climb up the ladder of esports, and that's gonna be amazing. I'm excited. I am beyond excited. I want to see this explode. Everyone I talk to who doesn't see the picture, and I can't wait to laugh in their face in a year when I'm, you know, still in it, and I'm still in it young, and I'm still in it when the scene's still growing, and they're like, oh, I doubted you, I should have blah blah blah. So I can't wait for that. But well,
for sure.
We are an hour and 10 minutes into this podcast, and I know we can keep going for another 50, whatever. It's late, so we're gonna wrap it up.
Okay.
We're gonna wrap it up with you. This is something I can't wait to do. I don't know how many viewers or views this video is gonna get, but I'm gonna take it like we're gonna get like 1,000 or 2,000 or whatever. Keep it professional. 100%. You're gonna end the podcast with the question of the podcast. We'll call it question of the podcast. Okay. So ask one question, and everyone in the comments, answer this question. So this is perfect for you. You can get feedback on whatever you want. You can be like, what's your favorite color? Or you could be like, what do you want to see photographers doing more of? So think about whatever question you want these people to answer in the comments for you. Okay. And if you get maybe 10, 15 answers, it might benefit you. So choose carefully.
Ooh.
Right.
This is, okay.
Take your time. Don't worry about it.
I want to do something goofy.
Go for it.
Yeah,
like, I mean, this is probably gonna be the second podcast. I'm gonna get 25 people who answer.
If you were a fruit, which fruit would you choose? Yeah, that's my question.
Fair enough.
You have to answer it first.
I have to answer if I was a fruit.
Yep, right now on spot.
Is a lemon a fruit? Lemon's a fruit, right? 100% a lemon.
Right, sure. Yep.
Lemon, okay, because I like the faces people make when they suck on them. They're like, just like that. 100% lemon. So answer it on the spot. All right. That wraps up our podcast. That was amazing. I had a really good time with this. If you guys had a good time with this, make sure to leave a comment and your favorite fruit and everything like that. Make sure to like, favorite, comment, subscribe. All of my handles will be in the description, as well as everything Stax wants me to put in, whether it's his Twitter, his portfolio, everything probably for STDX is going to be in there. Check out that organization, and make sure to, you know, share this video. It'll be on our Twitters, and we'll retweet the hell out of it. So get the publicity out there. I hope you guys enjoyed it and had a good time as much as I did, and Stax did, hopefully. And
I'd love to come back whenever you need.
Oh, definitely. We're gonna. I want to get some together. Like, these are like the one-on-ones, and this is like, I have like 6 or 7 people who are super interested, and I'm grateful for it. But I want to get like 2, 3, 4 people on a podcast and just get to a point where we're yelling at each other, and I want to get that kind of energy. So we'll find the right people for it. So
perfect.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I know it's an hour and 15 long video, but if you made it this far, the homies. All right, guys, we'll catch you next Saturday.